Welcome to Got Grass, conversations with the legends and leaders of bluegrass. You've enjoyed live bluegrass at Guitar Town CT concerts in Hampton, Connecticut since 2008. From Tony Rice, Rouse Stanley, and Doyle Lawson to Tim O'Brien, Sierra Hall, and Billy Strings. Now you can go behind the scenes as we chat with your favorite bluegrass stars. I'm your podcast host, Chris Worth. My guest today on Got Grass is Bronwyn Hynes, back for her anniversary of her first visit, which was exactly 1 year ago today. So welcome.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I thought it'd be fun to catch up on last time we talked all about your upbringing and your learning how to play the fiddle and your movement through the bands in Mile 12. And I'd like to talk this time a little bit about what's happened over the last year for you, which has been a lot. Right?
Yeah.
Busy year.
Probably the craziest year of my life.
Yeah. One of the fun things about doing this podcast is in the space of 10 days, I will be speaking with you, Sierra Hull, Kathy Fink, and Alice Gerard, which is like,
whoa,
it blows my mind. Like I was almost amazed that Alice Gerard was still around and I could actually talk to her. She was something else. She's 90.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So there have been a lot of changes. What have been the biggest changes for you over the last year since we spoke last February?
Well, I got engaged, I got married, and won a Grammy with Molly, and got nominated for another Grammy, and toured all year, and put out my own record, and yeah, it's been there's probably a bunch more, but that's moved houses in Nashville. It's been a heck of a year.
That's it. That's like a 10-year thing right there in 1 year. That's amazing.
No, it was like extremely fun, but extremely stressful,
Yeah. I've seen recently some nice videos of were you married at the Opry or had a after party there?
We actually got married there. We did like we did a morning wedding there, which was kind of, just sort of a different thing. We did a 8:30 a.m. ceremony on the stage and had all these like 200 chairs set up like on the stage, sort of surrounding the circle, and all our guests sat up there. And then we did a brunch reception backstage in the studio where they filmed Hee Haw. So it was kind of surreal, and we had like this country band playing, and it was all over by about 12 or 12:30 in the day, and we took a little break and sort of chilled out for a couple hours, and then came back to the Opry that night actually and performed on it, the two of us. And that was my first time ever singing on the Opry, so that was like really special.
Oh, we're going to talk about your singing because that's a huge leap in your musical career as your lead singing. It's been right? It's been a huge change for you. Definitely. So you had a great album this year called I Built a World that I thought was going to win the Grammy, but I was hoping, and I really did think there were a lot of good bluegrass records in contention, obviously, but I particularly liked yours. How did that album come to be? Like, what was the decision you made to kind of go out on your own? I know you've done an album before, but this was all you. You were singing all the leads, and this was your thing, your project.
It was almost like, I feel like that album was almost like a way for me to learn how to sing in a weird way. It's like I'd been working on singing around the house for the last couple years and singing a little bit in jams and stuff, but I never really had like a reason to sing that much more, like I didn't do my own gigs. I don't know. Just something, I guess after about a year of playing with Molly, and I watched, I guess my then at the time boyfriend, Jason, make his like vocal record. And I kind of watched him go through the process, and it was like pretty inspiring, to just kind of see him picking the songs. And yeah, I was like, oh, I want to do that. Like I could do that. That doesn't look that hard. So, and I just feel like every time I make any kind of record, I learn so much. So it was almost like this sort of like, well, if I could make a vocal album, then I could like do, see how good I could sing, and I'd get chances to redo stuff, and it wouldn't, almost in a weird way, it'd be less pressure than starting to just sing live a bunch. And then if I could do that, then I don't know. So I kind of it was sort of just like, well, I'll just see what happens. And then I made it. And then I started playing live shows around Nashville because I was like, well, now I've got these songs and I've got these arrangements and I could start playing these.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Yeah. So were you nervous going into the studio to sing with this particular band of top musicians that you had? Like, was there a nerves component to it for you, or were you just everybody made you
Oh,
feel
definitely.
comfortable? Yeah, it
I
was.
was, I felt like it was like almost comical the first day. I was like here's Brian Sutton and Jerry Douglas and all these people, and I'm like, wait, oh no, and I'm the singer today. Like they're being very nice to me. But Brian said something nice to me on the first day. He was just sort of like, just basically telling me about how he'd started making vocal records kind of later in his career too. Like he was like, I started doing this in my, after making a bunch of guitar records, and just you got to just have fun with it and treat it like, it's like you're so serious about your instrument, but like voice, you have to kind of be like let it be expressive and not be too serious about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when he first sang because I think it was on a Tim O'Brien tour he did as a duo, and um, I don't think he had. I mean, he had sung before, but I don't think he had sung any major things. But with Tim, he had to. There was no, there
Yeah.
was nowhere to hide with Tim O'Brien, and he did, and it was
Right.
great. It was great stuff together. Yeah. So how did you
Yeah.
how did? Oh, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Oh, I just said it was inspiring, and
Yeah,
he knows
yeah,
how hard it is.
yeah. So when you do an album, do you have a bunch of songs in your head that you want to try, or do songwriters come to you and pitch songs? Like, how do you fill out an album of like 12 songs? Is it?
Well, for that album, I kind of sourced the songs myself. I've been sort of collecting songs for a little while. I think I sort of knew I wanted to do this for a number of years, so I had a few songs in mind. Cover songs, songs from people I knew. And then just to kind of fill out the rest of the album, I did reach out to a bunch of songwriter friends and ask them if they had any songs that they'd be willing to have me record, and just kind of pieced it together. I did want to have a lot of songs sort of from my community and people that I'm friends with, just to kind of feel more connected to the music. So that's how I did that one. I guess going forward for my next album, I've been working on trying to write a lot of songs, and that'll be that sort of feels like the next step. The next sort of logical, creative jump would be to write the next album. So that's what I've been working on.
I was wondering about that. I figured you would be writing songs eventually. You probably already have, um, but I guess, being a songwriter puts you in a whole different level than being an interpreter of other songs. If you're writing your own songs, you become, I think, a much more, I don't know what the word is, but it's like a different category, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and one of the hardest things with finding the material for the last record was like, just finding songs I wanted to sing. Like I'm super picky,
Hmm.
and I know what I like and I know what I don't like. And, there'd be plenty of songs that I would like the music of, but I didn't like the words. I didn't like what it was about, or blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
So, writing songs has got its own challenges, but I've been doing a lot of co-writing, and that kind of helps take the pressure off a little. And, you get with people that are super experienced, and you're like, I've got this idea, but I've got this melody, I've got this chorus, but
Mm.
I don't know how to, they kind of help you flesh it out.
Yeah, yeah. So the title song, "I Built a World," when I first heard you, I heard it on Sirius Radio, and I said, "Oh, Bronwyn wrote a song about her life." I just thought it sounded just like maybe I don't know you that well, but I thought it sounded like just kind of like what you would express in a song that you wrote, right?
Well, that's a good thing. That I guess that means I picked a song that sort of reflects me well.
Hmm. Yeah. Another song I enjoy is the one called "Trip Around the Sun," which was written by a former Connecticut star musician, Al Anderson, who's now a big Nashville song guy. Um, how did you find that song, or did that song find you?
That song Jason told me about. We were talking about songs, and he was like, "Oh, like check out this song. I've always kind of wanted to do this one." And I was like, I like it. I'm not sure. And he was like, "If you don't cut it, I'm gonna cut it." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna cut it."
Yeah, I love that one. In fact, I teach a bluegrass class here, a couple, and we actually just performed that song, kind of based
Really?
on your arrangement of it. Trying to do an arrangement of it, which is a beautiful, beautiful
Wow,
song. There's
that's
also a
cool.
John Hartford song in your album, "I'm Still Here," which I've always liked. That's been around for a while. That's a cool song.
Yeah, I didn't put that one on my album, but I have been performing that
Oh,
one a lot
okay, not on
recently.
your album. Yeah, you've been playing it. Yeah, I see you
Yeah,
have all these interesting players in your different bands, Frank Rich and Frank Evans, and all these different musicians that I have met along the way. Um,
cool.
do you have a band set up to travel with, or is it going to be kind of who's available at the time?
Yeah, this year it's going to be kind of rotating depending on who's available, and just, thankfully there's so many great musicians in Nashville.
Mhm.
Any iteration of the band is going to be really cool. I hope eventually I'll be able to get a solid lineup, but you have to have
Mhm.
a solid amount of work and know what it is. It just has to
Right.
be a big enough thing to get a full-time band. So hoping for
Yeah.
2026 for that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess being a band leader is a big responsibility because you have to pay people and you have to arrange everything, and it's, as you say, it's a a lot of work for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Set it
totally.
all up. Yeah.
It's all a
So,
trade-off.
this was not your first Grammy experience, but was this one different than the first time you went? Were you feel like a Grammy veteran when you were there this time, or?
I mean, not a veteran, but it was kind of funny that I sort of knew my way around a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, like go in the red carpet here, and I did kind of know my way around, which was weird. It was kind of weird to be there without the band this year. I was like, whoa, it's just me, and I had my manager with me, and Jason came with me, but Jason was
Yeah.
nominated too, of course, with Dell. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it was really cool. I did the red carpet thing. That's always kind of like a mad dash around. I hired a publicist, Maria Ivy, and she's sort of like
All right.
ran
Yeah.
me around to all these different press people. And you did the interviews are so short. It's like 30 seconds. It's like, or one question or something. It's like they're comically short, and you're just like running around, and everyone else is doing the same thing. And um, yeah, it's very surreal though. It's like the thing you've seen on TV a million times or seen photos from my whole life, and then it's like, well, I guess now this is it.
Here you are.
Yeah.
Was there any special moment for you that you got to meet some star hero of yours or something like that? I mean, or is it just too busy to even like do that?
I didn't meet any big celebs that I hadn't known or something. I hung out with a bunch of the bluegrass people that I did know. I hung out with Tony Trishka a bunch and Sister Sadie. But yeah, I guess the year before, during the main show, me and Molly had these amazing seats. We were kind of down sitting in the celeb section. So the year before, we did get to kind of like every time there was a commercial break, Molly and I would just like go on and try to meet people. It was like a little, I don't know, it was just kind of funny. We met, well, the brothers Osborne, who else? Lainey Wilson. I stepped over the back of Taylor Swift's dress, but I didn't say hi. But yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
the seats this year weren't quite as
Um,
celebish.
right, right.
Um,
Um, so I understand that Jason is leaving Dell's band after what 33 years or something. He's been
yeah,
together with him. That
yeah.
must have been a hard decision. I mean, I know it sounds like he wants to go out on his own and do his own band. I understand that, but I mean, that was such an amazing run and such a secure thing, and it must have been a hard decision for him, I would think.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was, yeah, super hard and not something that he took lightly. But I think he kind of kept coming back to the fact that like I don't know, like the kind of that Dell was the same age as he is now when Dell moved to Nashville and like kind of got that latest iteration of the band that really like took off. And he's been, and since he put out that Lowdown Hoedown record, he's been really enjoying doing a few shows here and there of his own project. And I just see him come off the road when he does that, and he's just like beaming. He's like, I did all the driving and I sold the merch, and it was, I did it. I just worked like nonstop, but I had so much fun, and it's just like
Yeah.
satisfying, I think, and it's just something different. I think everybody needs a change every once in a while, and I'm
Hmm.
just excited to see how he's going to grow as a musician doing this.
Did you encourage him to make that move, or was that totally his decision? Did you?
Yeah, I couldn't really tell him what to do one way or the other. I was like, I can't say anything. Like, you have to make this decision on your own. I support you, like, whatever you want to do. I kept telling him it's kind of like I don't think you can really lose in this way. Like the gig with Dell and the Travelers is such an amazing gig. And I think doing your own thing would be an amazing thing. It's more risky, but like,
Hmm.
but I was like, I'm not making this decision for you.
No, that would be tough. So does this mean that you two might be performing more together, or are you still going to have your own separate things going for a while? Your separate bands.
I think we're probably just planning on doing our own separate things for a while. I think that's kind of both where both of our, interest lies right now. I'm sure there'll be opportunities to do collaborations occasionally, but I think
Hmm.
both of us just kind of want to do like we do the same thing, right? So it's like I don't know. I think we both just want that experience of learning how to be a band leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a role model for that band leader?
Well, I mean, Molly, it's been really
Molly's, yeah.
inspiring being in her band and watching how she does it. It's amazing and it's really cool. So that's definitely been my role model.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I have a new little feature in my podcast where I mention a name and you give me your first reaction. It's nothing
Okay.
embarrassing. It's just going to be simple. So the first one I thought of was Itzhak Perlman, who's a personal favorite of mine. I just wanted to hear what you thought about him.
Oh man, intense.
Tense.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's amazing. I don't know that much about classical music. I've seen videos of him play and stuff, and I know he's one of the best, but I don't follow it too closely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, how about Joni Mitchell?
Joni Mitchell, she's
She,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah, I like her. I like some of her really early stuff. Um, I
me
think it's
too.
really cool. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
when she went, I liked her jazzy stuff, but I prefer her album Blue. That's my favorite, probably top
yeah,
five album of all time. I just there's so much emotion in that album that I just and beauty. I love it still.
yeah, definitely.
Do you have a favorite kind of female singer that you, aside from Molly, that you kind of model yourself after or influences you? I'm not saying copy, but like, is there a singer that you said, "Wow, I'd like to sing like that person"?
Sarah Jarosz.
Oh, Sarah Jarosz. Yeah.
I love her singing.
Hmm.
I know she's really influenced by Tim O'Brien, and I know Tim O'Brien's not a female singer, but you know,
Right.
and I love his singing, and definitely both of those people are people that influence me a lot.
Yeah. What about Alison Krauss? I had to bring her
I
up too.
love her singing, but I just feel like my voice is nothing like hers, and I don't think it could
No.
do that. So
Yeah.
I've been a lot more influenced by her fiddling than her singing, I would say. And I think
Hmm.
maybe even just personality wise, I just kind of go for like a fuller sound, or that comes easier to me or something. So I've been kind of going for a different thing than Allison in terms of vocals, at least.
Hmm. Um, you're, I have cousins who grew up in Chevy Chase, Maryland, and Annapolis area, and I feel like you have a little bit of an accent from that part of the world. Do you think you do? I hear it in a few words you say. That's like Maryland, Virginia accent. I don't know
God,
what the
it
words
could
are, but
be.
I just picked it up. I said, "My God, you sound like a little bit like my cousins." I
Yeah,
can't remember the word, but it was
huh, that's
interesting.
funny. Yeah, I mean, I guess because I grew up in Charlottesville, Virginia. My mom is claiming I have a Southern accent at this point, but I don't think it's gone that far. Um, but I don't know. I'm hanging out with Jason all the time, and he's got this, thick Kentucky accent. So I'm sure little things just rub off on you depending on who you're hanging out with all the time.
I just noticed a couple of words you said, and I said, "Oh my goodness, that's Virginia, Maryland, all through and through." Right there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
I don't know what it
surprised.
was. Um,
Yeah.
and the last name on my list was is Bob Dylan. He's big in the news these days because of the movie, which I haven't seen. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but is he someone that you were influenced by, or would like to do one of his songs, or was that kind of not part of your musical world?
I like his stuff, but I honestly haven't dug into it that much. Yeah, I need to see the movie too. We got to play at Newport Folk Festival last year, and that was that was cool, and that made me want to kind of dig into his stuff around that period when he was, when electric and stuff. I
Yeah.
just something about sometimes like being in the place where something happened makes it feel a lot more interesting and real. So that was inspiring.
I hear you. Yeah. One other song I really like on the I've been hearing a lot of your songs on Sirius Radio, and one is called "Will You Ever Be Mine," which I really like too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that one was written
Yeah.
by Reed Stutz, who's been playing mandolin with me a bunch. He's a
Uh,
buddy. He was from Portland, Oregon, but he lives here in Nashville now, and he's a great kind of traditional mandolin player. And I don't know how many songs he's written. I don't know if he's written a ton, but I asked him if he'd written any songs. He's like, "Well, I've got this one," and yeah, I loved it.
Good one. Yeah, really good. Um, so playing with Molly, you've developed kind of an onstage persona, which might run a little counter to your real persona. I mean, you get pretty wild on stage, which I everybody loves to see. But do you feel like that stage persona has kind of influenced your real life personality in your time with Molly? Like, I don't know.
Hmm. No, I don't know if it's influenced my. I feel like I'm still sort of the same off stage, but I've definitely learned
Yeah.
how to dial it up a little on stage, and I feel like it's de it's authentic. Like you know, I can't do anything on stage that I don't feel like real about, but it's kind of fun to almost step into a different character and role and just sort of
Mm.
like act kind of wild and hopefully in service of the music and in service of the show. I can sometimes if you move around more and engage with the audience more, it can help them access the music more and get more excited about the music. So I feel like ideally it all kind of ties together and you do it in a way at certain moments to kind of like make the audience pay attention, be like, this is happening right now and like something really cool is happening. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's kind of liberating. I feel like I've spent a long time being very serious about music and going to music school and like just maybe taking it all a little too seriously. And I've been enjoying having more fun on stage recently.
I guess that's what I was getting at when you say liberating. Because I get the impression you're not like a totally wild and crazy person. You seem focused and serious, but on stage, you get wild and crazy and with the music, and it's very exciting. It makes it a very exciting show and musical show. So I guess that's what I was referring to, like maybe just
Yeah, it's
opening up I don't know, a little bit.
definitely, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And like, I don't know, I've never felt comfortable doing that before, but I think if you get on stage with a bunch of other people that also feel comfortable, you kind of create this safe space where it's like anything goes. And it's almost like, that saying in improv, hey, in improv where it's like, yes, and like, that's always the phrase. So it's
Right.
kind of like that on stage. It's like, you're never going to like shut down what someone's doing. It's always like, yes, and yeah, I'm going to do this. Okay. You're doing that. I'll do this.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like, and I don't know the banjo player Kyle, but he seems like he's like the ringleader of the wildness. Is that possible?
Possibly.
He seems
Yeah.
kind of wild. I don't
Yeah,
know.
sounds definitely wild. Yeah.
Um, so I'm just getting back to singing a little bit. So you used to sing in Mile 12 a bit, but you were certainly not the lead singer in that band. Now you're a full-fledged lead singer. So how has that been for you to really take charge of the song, the phrasing, the lyrics? Is that I don't know, how do you approach that? Or is just you just try to do it what comes naturally?
I mean, it's really fun and it's fun to be in that role. It feels it's just really different than what I'm used to. Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of hard. Sometimes it feels like it's kind of hard to work on singing at home without the band, like I'm a fiddle player. I'm not very good at guitar. Like but I have to sometimes play guitar at home just to like back myself up. Fiddle, if you strum fiddle, it's not very good. Doesn't really
Right.
support the voice in the same way. So it's been kind of funny, like learning how to even practice singing and
Hmm.
get used get used to singing a song, or if I've got a new song I'm working up, sometimes I'll I'll make myself a practice tape, or Jason will make me a practice tape,
Mm.
just so that I don't have to worry about also playing guitar, because it's like not like I'm going to do that in the actual show.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, I just try to, try to record myself, or I'll listen back to shows and just, see what I'm liking and what I don't like. And I think that's usually the fastest way to like improve.
You have a singing coach or teacher, or have you done that in the past, or are you just kind of winging it?
I did take some vocal lessons. I took a few different ones. I took some from Stephen Mogen. He's
Hmm.
a vocal coach down here and plays with the Sandbush Band, and he was really helpful. And a few from Melody Walker, who's another great singer and songwriter down here. But I haven't in a long time. I probably should, but I felt at some point I was like taking so many vocal lessons, but I still wasn't performing. And then I got to a point where I was like, all right, I need to just start doing this, and then I'll get to it was almost like too much practice and not enough application. But now
Yeah.
that I've been doing it so much out in the world, I should probably like dial it in more.
I mean, I guess like anything else, the more you do it, you learn by doing it. So just singing is probably the best way to learn how to sing.
Yeah, and singing lessons are tough because it's not like put your finger here on guitar or something. Other instruments are so they can just show you visually what to do, but singing, it's all about like, well, feel this thing in your throat, or move your tongue here, or like, it's all sort of like a mental thing.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm.
What's been the biggest challenge for you over the last year with all these changes, moving, getting engaged, married, Grammys, starting your own band? That's a lot of stuff. Is there anything that's really like keeps you up at night out of all
Oh
that?
man, I mean, yeah, I mean, last year I felt like the biggest challenge was like staying healthy, not getting sick. I was just like kind of burning the candle at both ends, and I just kept getting sick, which, it just happens to me if I don't get enough sleep, consistently, on the
Yeah.
bus, and like the bus air is kind of this recycled air that, you're in a
Yeah,
bunker
there's
10 to
germ
12.
factory everywhere when you're
Yeah,
traveling,
it's
you're meeting people and
gotta
being up
be.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but, I've been home for about 6 weeks, which has been really nice. And that's been, I feel much healthier and kind of in a better spot. So hoping to take that with me into this next year. And
Hmm.
yeah, and just like striking balance, physically and, health wise versus career wise and all that.
Yeah. I mean, you have to take care of yourself first because without your health and yourself, you're
Yeah.
useless. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
are you still going to be touring with Molly over the next year? Or are you focusing more on your own music or both?
Kind of both. I'll be touring with Golden Highway in the first half of this year, and then I think Golden Highway will take a break after about July of this year, and then I'll be transitioning to full time doing my own thing. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's going to be an
Hmm.
interesting time.
In terms of your fiddle playing, what do you find the most difficult or challenging about playing the fiddle in general?
Whoa.
So many
Wow.
things.
So many things, all of the things. I don't know,
Yeah.
playing fast. I mean, anything, speed gets hard, as soon as tempos go up, then what you can do kind of, your limitations kind of cut in, and then it's just trying to be smart about what you choose to play or don't play. So, playing fast, there's certain keys that are a challenge, but um,
What's the toughest key? I mean, because there's certain bluegrass and country keys that are more standard, G, D, B flat, A. But are there certain
yeah.
keys? Because I know in my bluegrass class, there's a fiddle player, and she goes, "Oh my God, we're not playing in that key. That's impossible." What are the
Yeah.
impossible keys?
I mean, the harder keys are like some of the bigger flat keys, the keys with more
Hmm.
flats. But I've been finding myself, the E flat, A flat, D flat, and then like F sharp, which is, one sharp past B.
Right.
But I'm also kind of following my voice, and sometimes I do end up in keys where I'm like, well, I think it's worth it to sing in this key. It's making a big enough difference for how my voice sounds that like I'll suck it up on the fiddle, and just do it. And yeah, I've got like two songs in E flat right now. I just worked up a cover in F sharp, and I was just like, well, that's where it needs to be. Like, um, but at least I'm the fiddle player, so like nobody else in my band can complain if I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Well,
Half of them have
a couple of
capos.
them have capos too, so there's no excuse.
Yeah.
Um, is there a certain key or area that you're comfortable singing in specifically? I know Tim O'Brien sings a lot in the key of F. That seems like a comfortable key for him, um, which is pretty high for most male singers. Is there a key that's like your comfort zone, or does it depend on the song
It
a
well,
lot?
definitely depends on the song, the contour of the melody. I find often a lot of songs end up well in C. C or
Hmm.
D can be a good one, but I've got, like I said, I've got two in E flat. I've got songs in pretty much every key, and it just depends on where where the melody kind of, what note it kind of lands around, how far down it goes, how far up it goes. It's kind of interesting. And as I learn how to sort of expand my voice and get more comfortable with like a sort of a head voice and get that more powerful, that kind of opens up my range.
Hmm.
It's like there's only so low I can go physically, but going up high is a little bit more about technique, it seems like. Once you get past your bridge or your break or whatever, then it's like, well, could go up pretty high if I could control it and I liked the tone of it.
Hmm.
So that's kind of what I've been working
Yeah.
on recently, vocally.
I remember watching Tony Rice play Church Street Blues in the key of E flat on one of his famous videos, and I said, "Well, that's probably one of the few songs ever in bluegrass that's been done in E." But that suited his voice, I guess, and that was just why he did it that way. It was just, like
Yeah.
D wasn't quite there, and E was a little. It was that was the key that worked.
Well, and it's
It's-
funny because, like, I guess historically, a lot of bluegrass lands between G and B. And
Mhm.
I guess nobody does A flat, but they go G, A,
Mhm.
B flat, and B. And really, honestly, B flat and B are not like super fun. Those are not the easiest keys to play in, but people have just gotten used to them over the years because that's where a lot of male voices landed. So I think as we see more female voices in bluegrass, I think there's going to be other keys that will start to be more common to play in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So,
had one
oh,
song on my, oh, sorry. I had one song on my album in D flat. That Trip Around the Sun was recorded in D flat. And for that, I did tune the fiddle down a half step because I wanted to take this big extended fiddle break and it would have just been just pretty limiting to play that open. Um, but then now live, I've just moved it down to C.
hmm.
I don't. For a while, I was like trying to have two fiddles. I was having like a half tuned down fiddle on stage, and it was just kind of a pain to like switch instruments for one song. So
I remember discussing that with my group, and we said we're doing it in C, folks.
yeah, yeah,
Just too much of a challenge for
yeah.
learners. Um, are there aspects of your playing that you specifically work on, like when you're hanging around? Do you work on playing in different keys, or do you work on intonation, or is there anything you specifically work on the fiddle right now?
Um, I mean, these days it's probably mostly tied to like the songs I'm specifically working on, like performing and stuff. So, I just learned a Grateful Dead song called Loose Lucy and been trying to do it in F sharp. So I've been, I'll play through a couple times on a solo, trying to come up with some ideas over that song in F sharp. And I feel like my time has been so limited these days with just everything going on, and I spend honestly more of it working on singing than fiddling right now.
Mm.
And I wish I had time to, I wish I had endless hours of every day, but it's like when you're working with what you got, it's kind of like, I don't know, I'm trying to, just improve the thing that I think needs the most improvement or the thing that I haven't spent the most time on. So the
Right.
singing is like,
Yeah,
well, I'm gonna
singing is
work on that.
important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I've spent my whole life playing the fiddle, so it's kind of like that can sometimes take a little bit of a back burner in my practice. Yeah.
yeah. Your husband's a pretty good singer too. He has a
He is. I
nice
love his.
singing voice. Yeah,
Yeah,
he really
I love.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, So over the next, like, let's say 5 years, do you have a plan or do you have a idea where you want to see yourself in 5 years or 3 years, or do you just kind of going, 6 months at a time and seeing what happens? Do you have a
Well, I
long-term plan?
mean, honestly, I'm not sure if you can have a plan in this business. You can have hopes and dreams, and you can have like things that you wish would happen and you hope would happen, but sometimes yeah, so I mean, I I hope that my Bronwyn Keith Hynes band is wildly successful, and plays every festival and gets amazing crowds out and everything. And, that would be the plan or the goal or the dream or whatever, but you never know what's going to happen. And,
Yeah, right.
sometimes it feels like, yeah, so many things have happened in my life that I would have never expected and never even thought to plan on in the last couple of years, So it's almost like I feel like you just sort of, I don't know, I'm just trying to like put myself out there and do the best I can and just see what happens and see what opportunities come up and just kind of roll with what happens.
Yeah. That famous quote attributed to John Lennon, which I don't know if he came up with, but life is what happens while you're busy making plans. I
Right.
think
Yeah.
I
Well,
think the older you get, that becomes more and more your philosophy, because you realize that all the plans you made or had or thought you had often don't come to fruition. Something else comes along and you go a different direction, and there's no way you could predict it.
Yeah, that's a way better way of saying that. I love it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. I don't know where he got it from. He might have come up with that, but um, so how about this question? Do you think you'll be having a family at some point, or is that too soon to even think about? Or is it none of my business?
I don't, it's not in the cards for me at the moment. It's not
Yeah.
really in the plan right now, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
We'll
guess you've
see.
got enough on your plate without having a little worry about a little kid running.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's not really
That really
something I
changes things.
think I want. Yeah.
So the new album you're working on, you said you're going to be writing some songs for this project?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah.
been working on writing for that, and yeah, it's pretty fun. I've been just did a co-write with John Weisberger yesterday or the day before, and yeah, just trying to have like a couple writing sessions a week and
Mhm.
carve out some time for myself, and I'm trying to overwrite for it. I'm trying to have more than more songs than I would actually record, so I can have some stuff to choose from and really make
Yeah.
sure I'm picking the best stuff.
I had John on my podcast, and I had to have him on a second time, like I'm having you, because he had so much to say. So he has
Yeah,
just so much knowledge and experience in all aspects of music and writing and everything else. He was just a fascinating, conversationalist, interesting
yeah,
guy,
John.
and great
Yeah,
songwriter. Yeah.
totally. Such a deep
Yeah.
guy, and he's just been a part of so many different aspects of the music industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, is there anybody that you'd like to record or perform with that you haven't had a chance yet, like on your bucket list, like I don't know, Dolly Parton or James Taylor, or somebody like that, or like, do you have any dream partner to sing with aside from your husband?
I'm a really big fan of Sturgill Simpson, so I always say that like I'd love to, do something with him someday. I love his singing and his songwriting and his playing. I just think it's really cool. So he's been a big influence and just kind of inspiration.
Yeah, where did he come from? Because he's been a huge name in the bluegrass world recently, but I didn't know anything about him until a year or two ago. Has he just been like working in the industry and writing and playing around and just got discovered or something? Or how did
Yeah,
he?
I mean, I think he's been around a while. I think his breakout record was High Top Mountain, and I'm not sure how long ago that was, but 10, 15 years ago. And then Meta Modern Sounds in country music was even bigger of a record for him, and that must have been 10 years ago, I would think, at this point. But then recently he sort of re-recorded a bunch of his songs bluegrass style back in 2020 or 2021 for, I think he was doing it as like a fundraiser. I can't remember what the fundraiser was for, but he's like, kind of told his fans, if you guys donate X amount of money to this charity, I'll make a bluegrass record. And I think they donate, they blew it away. So he made two bluegrass records, and that's sort of, but it sounds like he's always been kind of, known about bluegrass and had it as a part of his life and his family. So that's, I think that's probably inevitable growing up in Kentucky.
Yeah, I just didn't know about him. And a lot of people I don't know about, but I mean, he was one especially that got very well known over the last couple of years. But as you say, he's been around. I never never crossed his path in any way. This is young guy that I just might be doing a podcast with, Mason Villa. You know him? He's
Yeah, Mason's great.
yeah. I saw a couple of his videos, and I just got this feeling that he had a certain something that a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
musicians don't have. You know, there's a lot of talent out there, but certain people just have a little something that attracts you to them, whether it's the voice or their personality or something. And he seemed to be one of
Yeah.
those that had something special.
Yeah,
Try to get him
Mason's
on here.
I love his yeah, he's like a triple threat, great guitar player, singer, and songwriter. I know
Hmm.
he's written at least one song that Del McCoury band has recorded, and he was a member of Old Crow Medicine Show for a long time, and yeah, he's doing
Right.
great stuff. And he's so young
Yeah.
still. I totally like in his 20s or something.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
funny for you to say young in his 20s because still think of you as being in yours, but you're past your 20s,
My
right? A
30s.
little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in my
Yeah.
30s. I'm like, wow, they're so young.
Um, well, is there anything else you'd like to promote or talk about? We've covered a lot of things here about your past year and your future plans, which I think sound very exciting, and I'm sure that you will get people screaming and yelling about your band. I have no
I
doubt.
hope so.
Um,
I'm excited. Well, I'm heading out
yeah.
on a tour next week, and I would
Okay.
just, I guess, encourage people to check out my tour dates this year and hopefully come out to a show.
You're not coming up to New England, I gather.
I actually am. Yeah, I'm playing at the Green Mountain Bluegrass and Roots Festival in Vermont in August, and I'll be routing a tour around that. It's all still kind of getting worked on, but I will be
Yeah.
going up to New England this summer.
Nice.
Yeah, so maybe I'll see you.
Maybe we'll catch you somewhere. Maybe you'll even come play at Guitar Town. You never know.
I hope so. I'd love to.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All
Yeah.
right. Well, that was you obviously are very busy, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk because I know you have a lot on your plate and a lot to plan out. You're making hotel reservations and stuff, so
Yeah.
a
Oh,
lot of like nitty-gritty stuff you have to deal with as well as the music part.
yeah. Well,
Right.
thanks for chatting though, Chris. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, you too, and good luck with your year.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
All right. See you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed our podcast, and thanks for listening. Visit our website, guitartownct.com, for concert and podcast schedules, or just to send us a message. We'd love to hear from you.